Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for getting up and hanging out with us.
I've been up for a long time, Jenna. I'm like you guys. I watch you every day, and I'd like to say hello to Nick and Chris, and thanks for having me on.
We love having you here. All right, so, Coach, this is the 8th team you've now taken to the Final Four. Talk about this team. What makes this specific team unique?
You know, they have an incredible connection between them. It's almost like when one moves, they all move, and that's kind of unique. And the team's chemistry is great, but the connected part of it, if one guy screws up, the other guy helps. And we've got a great quarterback. And as Chris knows, if you got a good quarterback, it makes up for a lot of other things. And I say that Cassius is my Tom Brady. You know, you can plug in different receivers, guys get hurt, you move different guys around, and he finds a way to make it work, and that's a great trait for a quarterback or a point guard.
Coach, I know how much you love football. You probably wish you were an NFL coach or a top college coach compared to being a college basketball coach. Kind of odd to have all the success you've had and wish you were something else. But give us a little insight. You and I talked before the Duke matchup, and you were concerned about how much of overwhelming talent and skill that they had. What was the game plan when you go in against a number one seeded Duke, number one seeded in the tournament, and you believe I'm not as athletic as them? What are the things that you have to take away from a team like Duke, Coach?
Well, you know, I love Zion Williamson. I really did. I mean, I think you guys would appreciate him when you get to see him in person. It's not the physicalness. He plays with some passion. He has some toughness to him. He seemed like an incredible teammate. And I knew we couldn't cover him one-on-one. I couldn't get Khalil Mack to come and join us that day. So I decided that we went with, you know, we call it the 6-eye rule. Every time he caught the ball, there had to be 6 eyes on him. And we kind of shrunk the gaps. We held him to 20-some, which doesn't sound great. But I thought we did a decent job on him, not letting him get too many dunks, breakaway dunks. We didn't turn the ball over. You know, in any sport, that's very, very important. And I thought that was the difference in a great Duke team and a very well-coached team, and one that deserved all the accolades they got all year.
Coach, I want to stick with Zion just for a moment because he's such a big topic of conversation. How do you think his game will translate next year to the next level?
Well, like every college player, he's going to have to make adjustments. What I liked about him is he's got really the base that you want. He's a tough kid. He's a passionate kid. He plays with emotion and energy. And I've seen him get better as the year went on. You know, he wasn't a very good shooter. He hit a couple threes against us. I mean, he's going to have to improve his shooting. He's got an incredible, Chris would love his first step. He's got an incredible first step. I mean, one dribble and he's going at it. I'll give you an example. Kenny Goins, the kid that made the shot, got one blocked earlier. And in the huddle, I said, Kenny, why didn't you pump fake him and then shoot it? He said, Coach, he was 15 feet away from me. I thought I could get it off. And that's what makes that kid so good. He's good defensively and he's good offensively. But like all college guys, he's going to have to improve because just being an athlete doesn't make it in the NBA.
Coach, I'm sure you'd love to just sit back, relax, and sort of bask in what you guys have accomplished already. But I would imagine that you turned the page already from that celebration of Sunday's win to preparing for Saturday's game. When was that? When did you make that turn?
Well, I said we were going to enjoy the plane trip home. We got home about 1 o'clock. We had a little staff meeting at about 1:30 and started preparing. The one thing I learned early in these Final Fours is by Monday, tickets and hotels have to be done because those are the biggest problems. I heard Chris talk about the distractions of a Super Bowl. It's kind of like that. You know, you have to get all those ancillary things done. My first year, I think as the ball was tossed for the tip on Saturday night, I was finalizing my last 2 ticket requests in hotels. So that changed now. That's the only thing my experience helps me with. So we did that. We got a little bit of information on Texas Tech. And then by Monday morning, you know, we moved ahead. But I did want the players to enjoy the night. So we got one night to enjoy it.
Coach K talked about losing to you and Cassius Winston being, we know, named first team All-American, but being the best point guard that they faced. How much confidence do you have? Because, Coach, you don't give out overall praise to some of the greatest of the greats. We know that Magic Johnson, his relationship with the program is very, very a very, very close relationship. But you compared his vision of the court to the great Magic. Now, Coach, you're going to have to explain to me, because Magic is the best passer of the basketball. You said he has the best vision in the state of Michigan since Irvin Magic Johnson played for Sparty.
Well, you know, I've had some great point guards. Mateen Cleaves, of course, was the guy that led us to a national championship. But Cassian has this vision where he can really see the whole court. He's not lightning quick. He doesn't have the size or the strength, you know, and yet he has vision. He has the mental ability to see things. And, you know, I have watched a lot of quarterbacks in your league, and, you know, that's the difference. It's not can they get the first read, it's the second, the third, or even the fourth. And that's kind of what he can do. They take away one thing, he knows where he's going next. He knows where he's going the third time. And I'm not comparing him to Magic, Chris. I said he has Magic Johnson qualities and his ability to see the floor. And I think Irvin would say the same thing.
All right, in a season dominated by freshman, Coach, the freshman in the Final Four that actually averages the most points is your guy, Aaron Henry. Aaron Henry obviously was in the news for a different reason earlier in the tournament. We talked about on this show, talked about on every show. I'm curious what your reaction was to not just the media coverage of what was not a super atypical Tom Izzo moment, but the way your former players almost universally rushed to your defense saying, we know who Coach Izzo is. We know what he allows us to do and what we allow him to do. So your reaction to the media coverage of it and your former players' discussion of it.
Well, I understood it, Nick. I mean, I really did. It's a 5-second blip, you know, that's 5 seconds. You know, when you have a 30-second timeout, you don't have a lot of time to negotiate, and nobody knows what went on before that, what was said, or after it. But my relationship with Aaron Henry, I mean, I think everybody would agree I have a very close relationship, so I spend time with players. Time is something that not all of us have, and that's a priority to me. So guys know where I'm coming from and what it's like. I was a little bit amazed by it, but this day and age, you know, I'm not a big Twitter guy. And this day and age, everybody jumps on. The haters will be haters. The lovers will be lovers. I'm just going to coach my team. And as long as my players understand where I'm at, and could I make an adjustment or two to pacify guys like you, Nick, who I really enjoy? Yeah. Could I do that? Sure, I could do that. And I'll try to do a little better job because, in all honesty, I represent a university. I don't want to offend anybody. But I also got a job to do, and the job supersedes everything. Take a 30-second timeout and try to get a lot of points across. If someone isn't maybe listening or doing the things you need done, you know, once in a while, as Judd Heathcote says, the games make fools of us all, but it is blown out of proportion. If you knew the other 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds, it's all good.
I want to follow up on the one-and-done dichotomy between all the Final Four teams and then the teams that have been the story of the year, most notably Duke. We now, obviously, Duke won a championship a few years ago with a bunch of one-and-done kids, but we are now going to have fourth straight champion that is a veteran, senior-laden team. Talk to me from a coaching perspective, because you've coached some great one-and-done kids, but the pluses and minuses of when you go into a game with a veteran-laden team that might not have the raw talent of a team with a bunch of potential lottery picks, but who are 19 years old, the development for the guys that are 20 or 21 compared to the 19-year-olds, and how that applies to you as the coach.
Well, as we all know, the difference between 17, 18, 19, and 20 is not just a year. It's a lot of experience. You know, your first time you move away from home, you get to college, experience a Final Four, that's something in itself, you know. But I love Miles Bridges. I love Jaren Jackson. Those guys were great, and I think we had a decent mix around them. But our team was pretty young last year, too. You know, we had some sophomores like Winston and Ward and a freshman like Xavier Tillman who really weren't as experienced as they are now. I think that's helped this team. It's good to have great players. I think we all need them. But I think if you look at Villanova, Jay Wright has found a way to get old and yet get very good. And so sometimes you got to find some superstars, But I think you got to mix it in. You got to have some players that are good enough to be great, but yet not quite great enough to be gone immediately. And if you got the balance of that, it's good. I don't think you're going to win just with a bunch of really good players. You got to have some stars. That's the nature of the beast. But if you got a good culture, they all work together, and you got to have some balance.
That's what we did on the show here. We had one superstar, and then these two guys just sort of compliment me on the outside, Coach. So that's how I like to. So we built the show from the inside out. Hey, I asked you earlier when you made the turn from what has happened to the Final Four to Texas Tech. When do you have that conversation with the team? When do you sit down with the team and say, okay, what happened happened. Now we really have to focus. How do you get them to keep the distractions out, to focus on the Final Four? And then when you tell them what has impressed you most about Texas Tech, what to look forward to and what to expect from the team?
Well, it was Monday. Monday we had film sessions, a little bit of a walkthrough, and then a ticket, hotel, parent, girlfriend, all the distractions that go along with it. And thank God, it has been my 8th trip. I've had a couple of assistants that have been there 4 or 5 times. I have one player, Kenny Goins, who was a redshirt guy when we went in 15. And so I let everybody talk a little bit, but there's nothing like getting there. You get to a football dome, and Minneapolis got an incredible place to play. I've been to the arena or to the stadium, and that'll be another thing. When we were in Detroit a few years ago, there were 35, 40,000 people at our practice, and I saw a lot of wide eyes, So that's the next thing we got to address when we get there, how to handle it all, how to handle all the media. But, I can give them help, but until you do it. Now, the one thing I like about this team, Cassius is so opposite of me. He's so even-keeled. I'm a little more up and down, but Cash is very even-keeled. He is the leader of our team. As the head goes, the body follows. I got a pretty good head right now, meaning him, and I'm hoping the rest of the guys follow him.
I know we only have time for a couple more quick ones, Coach, but we'd be remiss if we don't ask about Jarrett Culver. It's going to be the second straight game you guys go up against a top 5 pick. Zion's going to go 1. Culver might go 3. People just don't know about him because he plays in Lubbock. He has been sensational. How do you slow down Jarrett Culver, who is a superstar in college basketball?
Well, you're right about that. That couldn't be said better. I think Chris Beard has done an unbelievable job with this team. We've had some pretty good defensive teams, Michigan and Purdue, and ourselves are pretty good, but I do think they take it up a notch. And Colbert he is maybe the best two-way player I've seen. I had a kid, Gary Harris, a few years ago who could get you on offense and he could make an impact on defense. Most great scorers are not great defenders. This kid can score it, he can defend it, and he can rebound it, and he can run. That's a combination on why you're a top 5 pick. So I think, we're going to have our hands full. It's going to be it won't be just a one-man job. We'll have 4, 5, 6 eyes on him at times. But they run that old Bobby Knight motion. And, Chris is a disciple of Bob. And there's a lot of similarities. Thank God I was in the league when Bob was here. So I think I'll be able to help our guys. But at the end of the day, as we all know, players play the game. And so we're going to have to make sure our players are really homed in. And he would be one of the big keys for sure.
Coach, we really appreciate your support, supporting the show. We know you're a frequent viewer of the show. You and Lupe and the family. I know you and your son. You drive him to school and everything, listening to the show. We greatly appreciate it. You have our support in Minneapolis, and spring football's right around the corner. So get yourself another championship, man. We can get on to the real game of football, which I know is your favorite.
I'm going to have my boy Mooch coming in for the game, so I'll still have a little football flavor to it. But you're right, Chris. Coach D says the same thing. He was at the last 2 games. He's coming up there. It's getting near spring football time, so we might as well finish off a good basketball season and see if we can make it last 2 more days.
Love it. And, Coach, next time you're in New York, come hang out with us here. We'll always find
no, Coach, if you win, you promise me, right? You promise me if you win, you're coming to New York to the show, right?
I'm there, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for all the support. Hey, Nick, the good news? We didn't have to play Syracuse this year because they've been a little bit of a thorn in my side. That's the only reason I don't like you as much as I like the other 2.
That's great. great.
So, yeah, because you always beat the brakes off his school, Ohio State. I understand that entirely. Thank you so much, Coach.
Oh, I tell you what, you're the only non-athlete in that bunch, so be careful.
That's enough.
Yes.
Come on, no, move out the way. Move out the way.
All right, see you later,
Thank you
Coach.
so much.
Get out
Take
of
a
here.
break. We're
He's
back
our
after
favorite.
This.
Yell at him, Coach. I hope they mess up. I hope you get on one of them. I hope you get right in his face and everything.